Okay, so this video is going to be a bit different. I'm going to start something somewhat new. It's still theory related, obviously, but instead of posing a new idea, it's rather an analysis on a particular subject in the series, analyzing it and piecing together details and narratives of said subject. And today, with the first episode of this new series, we are going to cover the thing that started it all the way back in FNaF 1, the missing children's incident. I did kind of shoot myself in the foot with this subject though, as you know, I kind of have controversial takes sometimes, some hot takes, so it will be a bit of an uphill battle, but it's going to be fun, and it's a very important subject, so why not? But before we start, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button down below, and subscribe if you want more from me. Make sure to leave your thoughts down below, and let me know your thoughts and conclusions on this style of video. Without any more wait, let's begin. The missing children incident, usually shortened to MCI in the community, refers to the event that occurs in the early to mid-1980s, where William wears a yellow mascot costume and lures 5 children to a safe room. We learn this mostly from FNaF 1's newspaper clippings, which gave us the inside story we all know and love today. 3 local children were reportedly lured into a back room during the late hours of operation at FNaF's Pizza on the night of June 26. While video surveillance has identified the man responsible and led to his capture the following morning, the children themselves never found and are presumed dead. Police think that a suspect dressed as a mascot that earned the children's trust. 5 children are now linked to the incident at FNaF's Pizza, where a man dressed as a cartoon mascot lured them into a back room. While the suspect has been charged, the bodies themselves were never found. FNaF's Pizza has been finding an uphill battle ever since to convince families to return to the pizzeria. It's a tragedy. And those are the newspapers that started it all. But anyway, it is also pretty much confirmed that Afton kills the children after luring them, and the bodies end up round inside the animatronics, their souls seeming bound to them by some means. And when you think about it, that's generally what the insight is on a very bare bones level, without going into any theories or speculation. There's not a lot of absolutely confirmed things. What that means though is, we get into nitty gritty details, which brings us to our first subject. When did the missing children incident occur? 1983 or 1985? The date of the MCI has been a roller coaster of a discussion. For the longest time, the most popular date was 1983, but after the release of Into the Pit in 2019, 1985 has surged as the most popular dating for the event, with many people treating it as a fact at this point. But is it really? I'll say very much no. And I would also say 1985 is one of the biggest misconceptions in the modern day FNaF lore. The basis for this 1985 dating is, actually, I'll let Gaby's Horror Homestead speak for me on this one. Play the clip.
I feel a need to point out is that the date 1985 for the MCI does not exist in the games. That only exists in the Fazbear Fright series and the Silver Eyes. The 1985 date comes from literally nothing.
Yeah, there's not much of a basis for the date besides guessing it's here, therefore it's here too. And while I won't be answering what exactly Fazbear meant to answer in this video, I doubt 1985 is one of those things that was answering. But why is this? How do we know it's 1983 rather than 1985? Well, let's just take a gander back at FNaF 4 first. FNaF 4 had a consistent narrative on the question, what did Sammy see? And by the way, if you want to know why I call him Sammy sometimes, watch this video here. So when I say Sammy or Sam, just think of the crying child for FNaF 4. It's not a fact, but it's just the name I have for him that I got from this video. Anyway, Sam saw something, and this traumatized him, caused him to mistake the employees in the suits as the characters coming to get him. This narrative is started and shoved in our face in the Night 2 minigame, where the crying child cries under a table. After Plushbear encourages him to escape Fredbear's, crying child does get up, and if you attempt to go left, Plushbear gives a warning.
No! Don't you remember what you saw? The exit is the other way. Hurry and leave.
But when you go right to the exit, the man in the Fredbear suit appears, and Plushbear tells Sam to run the other way.
It's too late. Hurry the other way and find someone who will help. You know what will happen if he catches you.
Make sure to always remember who this is in reference to, the he being Fredbear. This is connected what Sam saw to people in the swing-locked suits catching kids. And if you remember, what happens when a man in a yellow suit catches a child? Oh yeah, he kills them, as we see in every other timeline. This was the idea sub in FNaF 1 to 3 anyway, so why wouldn't it apply here? This is also supported in the very same minigame, as when you go to the left hallway, we see the shadows of Sweet Bonnie and Fredbear, with Plushbear trying to encourage Sam to overcome his fear and get past them.
You can find help if you can get past them. You have to be strong.
These shadows are also depicted as purple. In FNaF 2 and 3, show that the shadows were purple inversions of Fredbear and Sweet Bonnie, suits William used at some point in his murder spree, so this was a connection to the MCI. Also, consider this is shown right after the catch you scene, and this is the same part where you can find William putting a suit onto an employee in the very same minigame, showing us that whatever crying child saw ties the purple guy putting suits on people after catching him in a yellow suit. Put all of these together. These are all in the same minigame too, one after another, and they correlate to each other perfectly. Is it then an accident that the very next minigame on night 3 has the infamous MCI rumors?
Be careful, you shouldn't come alive at night, and if you die, they hide your body and never tell anyone.
Scott has said there are no random Easter eggs in this game, and this is one of those Easter eggs, so it can't be a Nothing Burger reference, nor does foreshadowing make any sense. What's the purpose of that? It's a reference to the fact that the animatronics come to life at night and the goddess go missing, which is a part of the rumors and mythos of Fazbear's. We know this. This minigame is also a direct follow-up to Night 2's minigame, which introduces mystery and tied it to the yellow suits catching children. This just clarifies the mystery and shows us what it is, tying the two together. Even the Ultimate Guide seems to do this here, showing the acting Easter egg alongside Picture Girl's rumors and Fredbear and Friends 1983, connecting all three together and supporting this conclusion. And then, there's the Night 4 minigame, but for this, I'm gonna let my old self speak on this one. On Night 4, the crying child is stuck in a back room and crying for help, and it's odd to dedicate an entire minigame to just being stuck in a back room. So what's the story purpose for this? Well, first look at the environment. The Fredbear suit is missing its head, and it's framed to look like a child got stuffed inside of him. This framing is likely intentional, given FNaF 4 has a consistent theme of from the eyes of a child. Imagine if you locked a little kid stuck in a dark back room with the suit of a character he's terrified of being hurt by, with him seeing what looks like little strings of something coming from within it. He would likely think it's a person, even if it was just wires. This makes even more sense if the crying child saw the MCI, because the memory of that event would resurface in this room. Also, the lack of tomorrow is another day is significant in this instance too, as we've gotten this line in every previous minigame. But this time, when stuck in a back room in an empty goldenfreddy suit, Plushbear is silent. This is a vague implication in my opinion that being stuck in a back room means you don't have another day. These minigames have to be trying to convey something, and this uses environmental details to paint a picture to the ongoing theme of what the crying child saw. And considering before, with Night 2 and 3 giving us clues on what the crying child did see, this night should be no different. It's just subtle storytelling, informing us that the crying child saw the MCI. Don't exclude the fact that the well-known "These are my friends" line is one of the first and only lines we hear from the crying child in the game. It is also referenced in the final minigame, where the final speaker Plushbear is joined by the 4 other plushies and initially speaks in the plural, "We are still your friends," but then switches to the singular, "I'm still here," when it's Freddy's time to fade away. Don't forget too that this is the crying child's mindscape. No physical person outside just knows what the crying child sees and can perceive or project into it. So having a plurality here actually does imply that there are multiple spirits in Bite Victim's mind. This would all be very similar to Abby in the movie timeline, where not only can she see the ghost kids, but was friends with them for a very long time before the movie even started, being her imaginary friends in Mike's own house. Even in the novelization of the movie, they communicate to her in her dreams. So when you compare, it's Mike's younger sibling being personal friends with the ghost kids, being their imaginary friends. Just think about it, it's very, very similar. But the thing that really solidifies all of this is a point I brought up in my very first video, that being when the game came out. Consider deeply FNaF 4's release timeframe, coming right after FNaF 3, and Scott having said before, he likes to clarify the previous game in the next game. And FNaF 3's whole thing was the secret story of the 5 MCI and the puppet in the Follow Me and Happy Day minigames, with the puppet having a unique connection to Golden Freddy through Happiest Day. And FNaF 1 to 3 were all about the MCI. That was the story plot of all those original games. And FNaF 4 was marketed as the final chapter to that story, the MCI story. The description of FNaF 4 even still says this to this day, so it still applies now as it did back then. What this exactly confirms is that FNaF 4 has to be about the MCI, since that's the story it's the final chapter to, and it doesn't make any sense for the final chapter to the original story, the MCI, to barely have any relation to the actual story of FNaF 1 to 3, that being the ghost kids who got killed by the purple guy, possess things like robots, and similar. However, unfortunately for us, MCI 83 wasn't just supported in FNaF 4 contrary to popular belief. We also have Sister Location and Hut 1 and 2 to support this. Let's start with the former. With Sister Location, it all comes down to the private room and the nightmare chambers, mainly the 1983 code. There is a 1983 code for the private room. The most common interpretation you will hear about the 1983 code is that it ties to the year of inspiration for the nightmare chambers, as in, William built these rooms based on what happened in 1983. They were his inspiration for the nightmares. We see this evidence with the gameplay's various parallels to FNaF 4's minigames, aka the Crying Child's experiences. But did anything else inspire the nightmare chambers? Yes, the MCI. We know this from the nightmares themselves. They are the 5 classics. They are Fredbear and friends. The nightmares relate to the MCI, and we know this too since the gameplay parallels FNaF 1, which is Mike versus the 5 classics, the MCI kids. Considering how, as shown, FNaF 4 is already directly tied to the MCI, and the year Scott chose rooms to the underlying nature of 4 in the private room is 1983. And while you could argue it was just Scott clarified the 583 versus 87, it's more likely Scott was shown how important 1983 as a year was, being the basis for everything to come later. I mean, anyway, FNaF 4's gameplay is using the concept of Fredbear and friends, Fredbear and the 4 classics, which we saw on the TV with 1983 on it, which was even paired the 2 MCI Easter eggs in the Ultimate Guide. But after this, we entered the Steel War era, where 1983 is emphasized again and again. You have Fall Fest 83 stuff being emphasized, even Curse of Dreadbear being centered around it, and FNaF 4, with some references even to the Crying Child. And while in Hut 1 and 2, we got the whole the Core 5 and the puppet thing going on again, combining their figures into one, connecting all 6 of them, and just the plushies being at the Core 5 and the puppet in general. But what's most important here is the Puppet Master Challenge, where you can get the puppet memory plush by inputting 1983 into the keypad in the private room. This means several things, and they all align with this point. For one, it connects the puppet to the year of 1983 and the Nightmare Chambers. With the latter, it could imply she was behind the Nightmares in 4, as proposed in this theory I did, which fits with the Puppet Master being the, well, challenge name. Should be the Puppet Master behind it all. But what matters is if it's consistent, it means she's connected to the events of 1983. But in what way? Well, if the puppet did give life in 1983, giving life to the classic animatronics, the MCI, it would make sense and match how the MCI is tied to Nightmare Chambers in 1983, and why the puppet is always being paired with the other 5 animatronics and characters in Hut 1 and 2. With that in mind, isn't it then very interesting how they intentionally connected the puppet memory to 1983, and later in the same game during Princess Quest 4, we can find the 6 gravestones that we love in a very particular order, and that same puppet memory plush is associated with the core 5 characters, the MCI kids, and is placed last among them. That same plush that was always associated with 1983, by factor associating the dead kids and the puppet with that year as well. I think it's pretty intentional they did it that way, and nobody really has an answer that explains why they do the graves in this way, and what exactly is meant to be clarified with this. It seems to me that Scott and Steelwool are trying to say they're interconnected, and 1983 is an important year in regard to all of them, which doesn't make sense if the MCI happened 2 years after 1983. So I think the answer is that because the puppet's the reason the MCI possessed the animatronics, and the reason they pass on, as saying give life and happiest day, it makes sense she's last at 1 or 2, because she's the face of the MCI, which was in 1983, the year she gave them life, the year that inspired William's experiments. And to those who believe 1985, I ask this question: where is 1985 in any of these confirmed mainline story games? In all these mainline story games that have no dubious canonicity, where is 85? Not even a passing reference. It's 83, 83, 83 every time, and it's always associated with the key events of the series and the dead kids. 1985 only appears in a confirmed non-canon series and a dubiously debated series plus its spin-off game. But all the evidence we have directly in the mainline games supports 1983 as the date. And I mean, even the movie has the MCI be sometime between 1987 and 1989, so it's not like Scott is consistent on his dating across timelines. And while I won't go into too much depth on this subject for now, here's some of my logic regarding the books. If FNaF was established that the MCI was 1983, and all the later games support that date, without a single mention of 1985, that means if Into the Pit has a different date, 85, it is actually evidence that Into the Pit isn't canon, rather than evidence of 85 being canon, since the game evidence outweighs the books. I applied the same logic to basically anything in the books that contradicts the evidence we have what's in the games. And while I'm here, I might as well take this moment to address the only real counter evidence people have for 1983 in the games, that being the spring-locked suits. The issue seems to come from Ralph, who is previously known as the phone guy, telling us that after the spring-lock failures, the suits were retired to a appropriate location and aren't to be used. But for FNaF 4, we see people using the spring-locked suits, so what gives? Does that make MCI 83 impossible? Well, people miss a very important aspect of that phone call, and it's what Ralph said. Listen to the call yourself and pay attention to the exact words he uses.
Hello? There's been a slight change of company policy concerning use of the suit. Don't. After learning of an unfortunate incident at the sister location involving multiple and simultaneous spring lock failures, the company has deemed the suit temporarily unfit for employees. Safety is top priority at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, which is why the classic suits are being retired to an appropriate location while being looked at by our technicians. Until replacements arrive, you will be expected to wear the temporary costumes provided to you. Keep in mind that they were found on very short notice, so questions about appropriateness/relevance should be deflected. I repeat, the classic suits are not to be touched, activated, or worn. That being said, we are free of liability. Do as you wish. As always, remember to smile. You are the face of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Ralph specifically says that the suits are temporarily unfit for the time being. He even mentions the free of liability and do as you wish. And we do have evidence that came back in later media, with the books. We have The New Kid, which takes place around the early 2010s, and here it talks about Fazbear Entertainment continuing to upgrade the spring-lock suits to the modern day. Even the Location spring-lock suit could be an example of one of these upgraded spring suits years down the line, depending on SO's timeline placement. So Ralph's own words actually removes the only real issue there's ever been for the MCI taking place in 1983 in the games, as the spring-lock suits were never permanently retired. They came back, and later books and games support that conclusion. That was a long analysis of just the date, but that was always going to be the main debate and discussion in this video, so I had to pull out all the big cards to defend my belief here. So before we continue, I think everyone should consider the points above and not treat anything like it's debunked or a fact, as both beliefs are fair in their own right, even if they have our biases. Just remember to consider both sides' reasoning and come to a conclusion that makes the most sense to you. But with that said, it's time to move on to the next part. How did the MCI play out? Now, how the MCI actually played out is an important one, and the main questions I will be covering in this section are as follows. Who are the victims and what is the order of victims? What suits were used in the MCI? And who stuffed the kids into the suits? These are the main questions I would say fall under this section, and we'll answer them one by one. Firstly, regarding the victims, this is mostly easy, as FNaF 6 showed us the gravestones of the missing kids, confirming the names of Gabriel, Jeremy, Susie, and Fritz, with the last one being hidden. The most common belief is that it is Cassidy, the girl from the foot closet. But as we know from my previous videos, I have a different belief on who the fifth kid is. But for this part of the video, it doesn't matter that much, nor is that important. So while I believe it is this kid, you can replace him with Cassidy and it won't change all that much. Also, keep watch for a future logbook video one day. I will do it, trust me. But what is the order of victims? Well, we don't really have a solid answer on this yet. We may have an idea in FNaF 4 for Burn Friends, with it always being about the MCI. Its order also parallels the MCI newspapers of FNaF 1, where 2 were lured together on cameras, while 3 were then lured separately, making Fredbear and Friends also the MCI order. Sam, Fritz, Jeremy, Susie, and then Gabriel. This does fit with the Silver Eyes that came out the same year, where Brooks, the Golden Freddy child, was the first kid in the MCI. This idea also works with the inverted Hot 1 2 grave order as proposed by Reddit user Retro Beetle, which is a very good theory, using the security breach balloons to support it. For myself, I personally lean to one of these two ideas. It can kinda go either way, but the most popular order, however, typically goes Susie, Jeremy, Gabriel, Fritz, and then Cassidy. This stems from an interpretation of Pizza Party from Help Wanted 1 and Chica's line from Ultimate Custom Night, where she says she's the first. Actually, this reminds me, is Chica's line really Susie talking about dying first, or is it something else? I mean, you cannot be the first child killed and then see everything. You're dead. You saw nothing. You would have broken it with everyone else and give life. She would have only seen everything if she was the last. Also, there's no specifier, so why would it be at the MCI? What's the lore and narrative importance in telling us that Susie died first, but none of the other kids? If she says, I'm the first, and it's about a death order, it probably means the first child killed in general, implying the MCI is before Charlie. And while that can work, that does cause some big problems I don't think stands up well. So I think whether Chica's using a line actually has nothing to do with Susie, but just Chica. I think it's just about her being one of the first event callers to actually make it halfway to the room, hence I have seen everything. If she was talking about the MCI, that line again wouldn't really make sense. She would have just said I saw everything instead, but that does just make it seem like she saw a lot over the course of time, like a player going through the Ultimate Custom Night gameplay. Whether Chica is one of the first event crawlers to make it out of the vents, get stuck, her game mechanic, and ends up seeing everything we do throughout the night. If you played UCN, you get what I mean. So while I can't make a determined answer on the order of kids in the MCI, I do believe Golden Freddy is the first kid, due to Fredbear and Friends and Help Wanted 2's inverted order. Just how William first lured Brooks and Fredbear in the novels before switching to Swing By and luring the other children. Which actually leads us to our next question. Did William Afton only use Swing By in the MCI? I think the answer is actually very clearly no. We know it's confirmed he used Swing By for at least one kid in the MCI, that being Susie, but did he use Fredbear for at least one kid like the novels? Well, I think yes. Not only do the novels set a precedent, but it is supported by the games. Back during FNaF 1, I don't think you can deny that the suit was clearly intended to be Fredbear, as the YouTubers mentioned it being a mascot suit, and Fredbear is slumped down like a mascot. While in FNaF 2, it's supported by not only this drawing depicting Fredbear luring kids, but also that Golden Freddy appears the night Ralph mentions the yellow suit was used in the back room. Speaking of the back room, this is where we find Shadow Freddy for the first time, slumped down the exact same way Fredbear is, and also with purple being the opposite of yellow. Considering that, and how Purple Guy was first born in this game, that is a definite connection, and since Swing By wasn't a thing at this point, who else could it really be? After using Fredbear would also be supported by FNaF 4, as the MCIs already occurred and the Crying Child saw it. This not only explains why Swing By and Fredbear are depicted as shadows in Night 2, but also why the Crying Child is especially afraid of Fredbear, since he directly saw or experienced what William did in that suit. This would also align for his borderline PTSD attack in Night 4, with the empty Fredbear suit slumped down. Even in the falling minigames in FNaF 3, it is Shadow Freddy that lures the kids, taking them to the safe room like William did in 83. If Afton had only used Swing By, then Shadow Freddy being the one to lure them doesn't really make any sense. It would be unfamiliar to them as spirits, making it required that Fredbear was also used to murder at least one of the kids. As a very cool bonus Easter egg, we can also see in Help Wanted 2 where William stabbed the kids by the little red patch marks on their plushies. The MCI kids actually have less lethal wounds compared to Charlie, showing that William didn't kill them via stabbing. They had to die during stuffing for their future possession. The last question remains, however, who stuffed the kids? And I think this will be a short one, since as you can tell, I think the answer is pretty established. William. Refer back all the way to FNaF 1, which implies the killer hid the bodies in the suits, hence the blood and mucus croaks. This aligns as to why they stuff you into the suits. They kill you the same way the killer killed them. It also just logically makes sense. Why not hide them? William was even shown to have stuffed them in both the novels and movie timelines. Even in Help Wanted, it seems to depict Gabriel's luring, and he's stuffed by Glitchtrap, who represents William. So why wouldn't he have done it in the actual game's MCI then? It doesn't really add up. The only thing that ever implied otherwise was give life, but that's a very symbolic minigame. I believe it just depicts that the puppet is the one who initiates the possession, guiding their souls to their new home and assigning them their roles, giving them control over their new body. This fits way more with the term give life, or give the gift of life, and aligns with the mountain of evidence where William had been one to stuff the kids. So yeah, that was pretty short, which makes me finish this section, covering how the MCI generally occurs, who was in it and what suits were used, and who stuffed the bodies. Which leads us to our final section, why did the MCI even happen? family, and jealousy. These two terms describe the entire reason for why the MCI occurs. The reason we know this is because we have to look at William's character and how he's been depicted across the timelines. In the novels, for example, he spells out his motivations. He wants to love. He wants a perfect family. Afton doesn't know how to love, and it shows in how he treats his family. But he was jealous and envious of Henry and his family, the family Henry loved and adored, the family that was happy. His jealousy became so big that he killed Charlie in the novels for this reason, taking away Henry's family. But he still wanted his own. So he created the persona of the Yellow Rabbit and killed the kids, using the picture to deceive them, controlling them, giving them a false happiest day. The kids see him as their friend. To Afton, this was family. A family he can love, a family he can control. Afton also has an evil, sick, and twisted love for the children he killed. He considered himself one of them, as he says in the Silver Eyes. This motivation and plotline seems to be getting retold in the movie as well, with Afton killing the children and tricking them, using the pictures to deceive and control them as a family that he loves. While the context and circumstances of the games are decently different from both these timelines, it makes the most sense William would want the same in the games, murdering the 5 kids in a twisted attempt to create a family he can love and control, seemingly successful due to the puppet's actions unknowingly giving what he wanted in Give Life. As a more minor but still relevant motivation, William used the animatronics to murder everyone he desired, in order to fulfill his need to inflict pain on the others. He is kind of a sadist. Should have gotten some better help, I think. And that would be generally it, why the MCI happens. If you believe that Elizabeth died before the MCI like the novels, that could also play into his motivations, wanting to recreate the incident of Baby's possession for Elizabeth's death, but that's neither here or there and is somewhat debated. But his main motivation is William's quest for a perfect family and its own immortality, so he can truly love something, no matter how twisted it really is. And that's it, my first analysis. This one was a bit difficult to set up and organize, so I'll improve these as we go onward, but this was a controversial one to start with, contesting the popular ideas about the MCI. But I hope this makes you consider a few things differently and be open to other ideas regarding the incident. I will be doing an analysis of the DCI next, and eventually a Plushbear analysis, and between them, I'll probably do a Dislocation or a Frights Fiction video. But for now, that's all I gotta say. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it down below and subscribe if you want more from me. Hope you enjoyed this video, and see you soon. See ya.